James Thornton sat alone at a corner booth in a quiet roadside diner, staring at the dark surface of his untouched coffee. At 52, he had the kind of success people dreamed about: billionaire. Philanthropist, his name etched on university walls and hospital wings, yet the weight of his wealth felt heavier than ever. Since his wife, Claire, died 3 years ago in a tragic car accident, he'd been drifting, visiting small towns and backroad diners like this one, chasing something he couldn't name. The lights in Rosie's diner flickered faintly, casting a soft glow over his tired face. He liked the noise here, the chatter, the sizzling from the kitchenette was all real, simple, unpolished. For a man who'd lived too long behind tinted glass and guarded gates, this ordinary world was a kind of peace. But that peace was about to break in the most unexpected way. The bell above the diner door jingled every few minutes as truckers and locals came and went. Behind the counter, a young waitress moved with quiet efficiency. Her name tag read Emily. She looked to be in her late 20s, her hair tied back, her brown eyes calm but weary. There was something about her face that tugged at James's memory, something faint, like a song he once knew but couldn't quite recall. When she walked over to his booth, her voice was soft but steady. "Hi, sir. Need a refill?" He nodded absently, and as she poured, she noticed the silver band on his right hand. "My mother had a ring just like that," she said with a faint smile. James's hand froze around his mug. The words hit him like a sudden gust of cold air. Glanced up sharply. "What did you say?" She hesitated, startled by his tone. "Your ring," she repeated, gesturing toward it. "It's just like my mom's. She used to wear it all the time, said it was from someone special." James's heart pounded as he stared at her. The ring wasn't just jewelry, it was a memory. A silver band, etched with an ivy pattern, identical to one his wife Claire had worn. He and Claire had bought matching ones when they were young, before money, before tragedy. "Your mother?" he asked carefully. "What was her name?" Emily gave a faint, almost nostalgic smile. "Mary Harper." The name made his stomach twist. Mary Harper. He hadn't heard it in decades, yet it came back with the force of a flood. Mary had been Claire's best friend back in high school. She'd been bright, full of laughter, and troubled. James remembered her at their wedding, beautiful and trembling, handing Claire a small box. Inside was a twin ring to the one Claire wore, carved with the same ivy design. "So you'll always have me with you," Mary had said. But soon after that, Mary disappeared. Claire had tried to find her for years until life and loss buried that friendship under time. Now, sitting across from this young woman wearing a ring just like theirs, James felt the past clawing its way back to the surface. That night, James didn't sleep. In his hotel room, he stared at his reflection, the silver band heavy on his hand. He remembered Claire's gentle insistence that some things should be left buried. The way her eyes would darken whenever Mary's name came up. He recalled the last time he saw Mary, thin, tired, and trying to hold herself together. Then she was gone. The more he thought about Emily, the more impossible it seemed that this was coincidence. The same name, the same ring, same air of quiet endurance Mary once had. When dawn crept through the curtains, James already knew he'd returned to Rosie's diner. He didn't know what he was looking for: a closure, maybe, or forgiveness, but he couldn't leave the mystery unsolved. The next evening, James sat at the same booth. Emily smiled when she saw him, but there was curiosity behind her eyes. "Back again?" she teased, setting down his coffee. "Guess I like the coffee," he said lightly, though they both knew it wasn't true. After a pause, he nodded toward the ring she wore on a chain around her neck. "You said that belonged to your mother." Emily's hand instinctively went to it. "Yeah," she said softly. "It's all I have left of her. She wasn't perfect, but she was my mom." James leaned forward. "Tell me about her." For a long moment, Emily said nothing. Then she took a deep breath. She was strong, or at least she tried to be. She used to sing. She had this beautiful voice, but she got mixed up with the wrong people. Drugs, drinking. I was 16 when I came home one day, and she was gone. All she left was this ring and a note that said, "I'm sorry, Em, keep this safe." Her voice trembled, but she steadied it quickly. "I joined the army when I turned 18, got out a few years ago. Now it's just me and my daughter, Lily." James listened, each word slicing through him. Mary, addiction, disappearance. It all fit too perfectly. Over the next few days, James returned to the diner again and again. He told himself it was about the coffee, but it wasn't. He found himself drawn to Emily, the strength in her voice, the honesty in her laughter. She reminded him of Claire in her kindness, and of Mary in her stubborn will to survive. They began to talk between her shifts, exchanging fragments of their lives. He told her about Claire, about how her death had hollowed him out. Emily spoke about Lily, her 3-year-old daughter with curly hair and a smile that lit up every dark room. The more they talked, the more James felt a connection he couldn't explain. One night as the diner quieted, he finally asked, "Emily, when was your mother born?" She frowned, surprised. 1968, I think. Why? James's mind started racing. Claire was born in 1969. That would have made Mary just a year older. He did some quick math. Emily was 28. Born in 1997, Claire and he had married in 1995. His heart dropped. It was around the same time Mary had vanished from their lives. The memory of my wife Claire, crying after a call from her friend Mary, haunted me. "I wish I could fix what's been broken," she'd said. It was a puzzle I couldn't solve until I met a young waitress named Emily. When I asked if her mother, Mary, ever mentioned Claire Thornton, her eyes widened. "She was her best friend," Emily said, her voice filled with a sad nostalgia. The pieces started clicking into place. I hired a private investigator, needing to know the truth. The report he handed back shattered my world. A birth certificate. Mother, Mary Harper, father, unknown. And a faded letter from Mary to my wife. "I'm pregnant, Claire. It's his. I can't tell him. He's married to you now." All this time, Claire knew. She knew I had a daughter. And that waitress, the one who poured my coffee just days ago, she was my child. My whole life has been a lie. For 2 days, he didn't go back to the diner. Couldn't face her not with that truth clawing at his chest. Spent the nights pacing, reading the letter until it tore at the edges. Anger, grief, guilt, all of it, tangled together. Finally, he returned. The diner was quiet, nearly empty. Emily was wiping down the counter when she saw him. "You okay?" she asked, concern flickering across her face. James swallowed hard. "Emily, we need to talk." They sat at his usual booth. He took a deep breath and told her everything, the friendship between Mary and Claire, the rings, the letter, the truth. When he finished, Emily sat frozen, her face pale, eyes wide. "You're saying," she whispered, her voice breaking, "you're my father." James nodded slowly, his throat tight. "I didn't know, Emily. I swear I didn't know. If I had." She stood abruptly, tears streaking down her cheeks. "Do you think that makes it better?" she said, her voice trembling. "I spent my whole life wondering why she was broken, why she hated herself. You were the reason and you didn't even know." She turned and walked out before he could reply. The sound of the door closing felt final. James sat there long after she was gone, staring at the empty booth across from him. Days passed, then weeks. James came back to the diner every evening, ordering the same coffee, sitting in silence. Emily avoided him at first, her smiles polite but distant. But one snowy evening, she walked over to his table and stood there, the ring glinting around her neck. "I've been thinking," she said quietly, "about Mom, about Claire, about you. I'm angry, but I don't want to be anymore." James looked up, tears threatening again. "What do you want, Emily?" She took a deep breath. "Want to know you, not the billionaire. It's just you. And I want you to meet Lily. She deserves to know her grandfather." He exhaled shakily, relief flooding his chest. "I'd like that," he whispered. Over the next months, they began to rebuild something fragile, but real. He met Lily, a burst of energy and joy, with her grandmother's eyes. He helped Emily fix her leaky roof, paid for her night classes, but more than anything, he simply showed up. They spoke of Mary, how she'd loved fiercely but fallen hardened, of Claire, who'd tried to protect everyone and ended up breaking herself. In time, they built a bond that neither money nor secrets could undo. 1 year later, James sat in that same booth, but he wasn't alone. Across from him, Emily laughed as Lily scribbled crayon drawings on napkins. Their silver rings caught the light, twin symbols of a past that had once divided them, but now bound them together. For the first time in years, James felt whole. He'd spent a lifetime chasing power and redemption, but the real miracle had been waiting in a small-town diner, behind the eyes of a woman he didn't know he'd lost. As Lily giggled and Emily smiled, James knew Claire would have wanted the sad ending, not of regret, but of forgiveness and family. And as snow fell softly outside, he finally understood, some treasures can't be bought. And some second chances only come when you stop running from the past.